Speaking about her impressions about her interactions with Zelensky, this is a direct quote. This is what she writes. Zelensky, during our first meeting, seemed to be a very narcissistic and unrestrained person, capable of unleashing a war. Once again, this is what ex-Chancellor of Germany is writing. Unleash a war to satisfy his own ambitions. The horrific consequences for Ukraine, writes Merkel, were predictable back then already. End quote. So if the leader of Germany, over a large number of years with great experience and great weight in NATO, a person who was listened to in the European Union inter alia, back then when Zelensky was introduced in the Western circles, she already back then could understand who they were dealing with. Then why was Zelensky made a hero, essentially, of a new Western ideology model? Why the West put him on a pedestal, converted him into a caliph, only for a day, as they say, but they did it? And this is a question that Western leaders will have to answer. Everything that we are reading right now and hear and what we see from Western leaders, from their memories, their confessions, it resembles quite a confessional, actually, about how they nurtured a monster, put him to leadership positions, and what they did with Ukraine and its people. I believe this is only the start, that we will hear many more confessions. And this is not a confession and remorse. This is only an outward attempt to justify their actions and shift the blame towards others. This is quite an irresponsible behavior. They believe that it is not their responsibility, but rather that of Zelensky, who was very narcissistic, reckless, ambitious, and so on and so forth. European officials, upon entering their new posts and taking office, came to Kiev on the 1st of December, urgently. President of the European Council, Antonio Costa, High Representative of the EU on Foreign Affairs and Security Policy, Kaja Kallas, they came to Ukraine in order to express from the first day of their mandate their invariable support to the Ukrainian people, in order to make sure that Zelensky's regime would continue to fight till the last Ukrainian standing. Antonio Costa spoke with the political leadership of Ukraine, promised Kiev's puppets to send them an installment of 4.2 billion euros to cover budget holes, and in 2025, every month, transfer 1.5 billion euro as part of the G7 credit, with payment from the profit of frozen Russian sovereign actives. Frozen, as they say. We believe this is simply stealing. Kaja Kallas stated that it could be acceptable to allow for entry to Ukraine's territory of allies' forces without specifying who she was talking about. In other words, the EU, despite a shift in its bureaucratic ranks, still retains their ideology of destruction and lack of ties to reality is something that they inherited. It seems, based on their statements, that the well-being of the EU citizens is not a priority for European officials. Upon coming into office, even the documents have not been fully signed yet, but already they flew to Ukraine, which is not a member of the EU. They did not take stock of the state of affairs in economy of the EU. They did not visit and analyze the situation and states where there is a dire humanitarian situation in the EU. They did not carry out and organize events related to communication with the EU citizens in order to at least hear out their point of view and understand what the EU breathes and lives and breathes. They are not interested in it, even though their mandate is about dealing with EU problems. But nevertheless, it is not a priority for them. This is the order that they have received. They are embezzling money, they are stealing money, and they are profiting from Ukraine. And this is what the West refuses to see, their officials and their people. Religious persecution. The head of the Lvov regional administration, Maxim Kozitsky, reported that in his region there were no longer any Ukraine's Orthodox Church canonical temples. According to him, out of 54 communities, 27, together with temples, have become part of the schismatic Orthodox Ukraine's church, and the remaining 27 were closed. However, he glossed over the fact that this result was achieved through forceful measures, deceit, threats of repression, physical elimination. A similar picture can be seen all over the country. The problem of religious persecution and flagrant violation of the rights of the believers in Ukraine is not something that Ukraine will be able to silence. They will have to answer before the international community and the Ukrainian people for the crimes committed in the religious field. The attitude of Zelensky towards canonical orthodoxy is something that we can see in the region of Kursk, where the Ukrainian Nazis, during their invasion, completely destroyed 2 temples and damaged 10 churches. All these facts once again confirm the relevancy of the special military operation to denazify and demilitarize Ukraine, to eliminate the threats emerging from its territory. These purposes, these goals, will without a doubt be achieved as on multiple occasions the Russian leadership has stated. Similarly, about what is happening in Ukraine, what Ukrainian regime is doing against civilians outside of their territories, against civilian infrastructure, installations, terrorist attacks, as well as etymology of the Ukrainian crisis, about the future in our region. It is something that the Minister of Foreign Affairs, Sergei Lavrov, spoke in detail about in his interview to the British Tucker Carlson. And the interview will be published very soon, and we will bring it to your attention. Follow the media sources of the Russian MFA and our accounts and social networks. About double standards, I would like to talk about Italy and not look upon this problem in global terms, but rather speak about a concrete problem of mercenary activities. Slogans are excellent. We hear excellent slogans about the need to guarantee human rights, democracy, liberal values. We hear different rhetorics and lofty words from the West. But in essence, this is just a cynical attempt to cover up geopolitical calculations and aggressive neocolonialistic aspirations. Another example is the mercenary activity, foreign mercenary activity in Ukraine. This is a lack of standards, double standards. An article was published on the 27th of November in an Italian newspaper, Corriere della Sera, signed by a notorious journalist, Lorenzo Cremonesi. Why did this journalist become so famous? This fighter of the information front became famous when in October he came in a caravan of Ukrainian Nazi groups to the territory of the region of Kursk, violating Russian legislature and repeating the actions of his compatriots from Rai. Lorenzo Cremonesi dedicated his work to the difficult days of an Italian mercenary in Ukraine, hiding under the codename Polo. He is complaining to the journalist about the lack of practically everything, about Russians who fight too well, about Russian supremacy in the air. He also speaks about the number of Italians fighting in the ranks of the International Legion. Says that there are around 30 people, speaks about their ideological and political views. Aside from that, Polo discloses the identity of the Italian mercenaries killed in Ukraine without censoring this information in any way. This direct speech is something that the work is full of, but there is no reflection of reality. The image of the mercenary is romanticized and whitewashed because, once again, according to the article, this mercenary is guided by noble motives. This work was published in the central pages of one of the biggest social and political editions in Italy, and, which is important, these had no legal consequences in spite of the fact that Italian legislature includes criminal liability for mercenary activities. On the 17th of November, at a pro-Ukrainian meeting in Rome, Italian participant of hostilities in Ukraine, Julia Schiff, spoke and claimed her personal participation in killing Russian servicemen. The criminal is enjoying freedom, and we have no information about any action taken by Italian judicial and law enforcement authorities. We ask Italy, do you have standards? Do you have laws? Do you apply them just when you want to, or always? Are you a democracy? Are you a lawful state? We know very well that Italian citizens who participated in hostilities on the other side of the front line, protecting the civilians in Donbass before the threat coming from the Nazi regime in Kiev, are persecuted by Italian justice, which in these cases is very strict. What is this cynicism, double standards, the murder of standards? What is this? A cynical attitude towards international politics. But this is also about their own citizens, and they are treated with the same cynicism as well. Was it officially stated in Italy that there are good and bad mercenaries, needed and not needed? And they are speaking about their own citizens. This is not about citizens from other states. In spite of lofty slogans, we have understood already that Western democracies do not care about human rights, but at the very least they should worry about their own citizens. We have already heard this concept. Do you remember moderate terrorism, the West said when talking about Syria? And what did moderate from Washington's and London point of view terrorists? What did they do? What do they continue to do under the patronage of the West? Destroy, violate, murder, steal, wreak havoc all around. This is the very same concept. We would like Rome to decide what is its attitude towards mercenaries. Can it be done or can it not be done? If it's something legal, then maybe laws should be changed, and if it is not legal, then maybe the laws should be applied without politicization. The leadership of the country continues to use anti-Russian rhetoric. In Moldova, they do not understand that this is a very irresponsive policy which goes against the interests of the Moldavian people. On the 2nd of December, President Maia Sandu declared that direct wood, disinformation, corruption at elections, a good start. She spoke about herself. But then she went the other way. She said that those are the two most destructive tools of hybrid war waged by Kremlin against our democracy, while Prime Minister Dorian Richan stated that the country is under an information-driven attack from Russia. No, this is not true. If we hear such statements, we will respond. Naturally, no facts were provided to corroborate it because there were none. The reason for these outbreaks of Russophobic insinuations is very simple. As white as the snow. Why do I say that? Because a heating season is starting in Moldova, and it turns out that the situation is quite dire, and the authorities try to shift responsibility any way they can, covering up their own mistakes and citing some kind of tricks from Russia. Of course, LGBT parades is easier to prepare for winter. All the efforts of Santos' regime were aimed at introducing Western values. Let us speak about real values. Starting from the 1st of December, gas tariffs for consumers in Moldova grew instantaneously 27.6%. Experts expect that in the wake, electric energy will become more expensive. According to some forecasts, there will be a 50% increase. According to the data from the NGOs, right now Moldova is experiencing a record high in its level of poverty over the last 10 years, 31.6%. The share of people with low income is 65%, while the share of those who do not even have the income to buy necessities is around 25%. Half of population does not have access to medical services. What is happening with values? In the field, in rural areas, for many, heating with natural gas is already a luxury, and people simply are using firewood. Macroeconomic figures are also very grave. Right now, I'm saying that heating with natural gas is a luxury, but at least they have access. But it is very expensive. Speaking about macroeconomic figures, what does Russia have to do with this? From which of the facts we can infer that Kremlin had any part in this? In the draft state budget published recently in Moldova for 2025, they expect a deficit of around $730 million. With the lack of their own resources, this deficit will apparently be covered by using new credits from the EU and the IMF. Who is going to pay for that? The answer is very simple. The new generation of Moldavians. This is their burden, which with such fanaticism is imposing on them Sandu. This is confirmed by the forecast of the Ministry of Finance of Moldova, according to which state debt by the end of 2025 will reach $7.5 billion. Just think about it. We are speaking about a country with the population of 3 million people. It is a catastrophic number. No efficient measures to recover to righten the situation are not adopted by the Moldovan authorities. They seem to be incapable of doing it. Chisinau continues with its removed from reality policy with the advice and consent from the Western sponsors. And in Moldova, it is called a theater of absurdity. Mandu refuses to answer journalists' questions, and she's been asked questions about gas prices first and foremost. According to the opposition, she has other priorities: campaign and vote at the presidential and parliamentary elections in her homeland Romania, and to support protests in Georgia. I would like to recall, it is winter right now. The latest manifestation of this care for other countries, but not their own, is the awarding on the 2nd of December by Bertelsmann Foundation to Sandu the Reinhard Mohn Prize of 100,000 euros. What do you think is the reason for this?
That would be logical if we suggest that she received it for improving the living standards of her people, or for resolving a political crisis of sorts, or for improving the competitiveness of Moldova in the global markets. Why would she receive 100,000 euros as the head of state? Maybe for developing pluralism, freedom of opinion. In fact, she received it for exemplary commitment to defending and promoting democracy. What is this? What is it about? Exemplary commitment to defending and promoting democracy. She didn't receive it for democracy of Moldova, as Moldova kills it, by closing down media sources, TV channels, by introducing quotas for the presence of media outlets and journalists who are not wanted by her. As for the maltreatment of opposition, it is a calling card of her regime. So we are not talking about democracy or democratic development. Instead, it reads exemplary commitment to defending and promoting. Well, the commitment is the key word, and for this she received 100,000 euros, considering the fact that Moldova has totally cleansed its media space from opposition Russian language media. Starting 2022, 14 TV channels have been closed, more than 60 internet resources have been blocked. 3 million people. I'm talking about the population of 3 million people. It's not 300 million people. It's 3 million people who saw 14 TV channels closed, 16 internet resources blocked. Probably all other issues have been addressed, and after receiving 100,000 euros for their commitment to democracy, and now they're considering blocking TikTok. It's high on their agenda. According to the authorities, it is a tool of digital manipulation. In the Republic itself, this phantasmagoric situation has been dubbed the kingdom of magic mirrors. How could it be otherwise, considering that the Moldovan leadership blindly copies its Western sponsor, for whom hypocrisy and deceit have become a way of existence? It will not end well, considering great controversies. At best, the West will offer to its yesterday's protege to independently solve its own problems, as happens now with Zelensky. Sullivan said, let them decide on their own. There is even a worse scenario. Something that we consider too. The situation is deplorable. If she received a prize, probably she should have received it for falsifying the referendum, for stealing the election, an anti-achievement of Sandu, but that was the actual election during her term. Now on dual standards, on an international scale, on the scale of international organizations, state agencies, we continue receiving a huge number of appeals from the Russian federal and regional media in connection with a scandalous draft report by UNESCO Director General Audrey Azoulay on the safety of journalists and the problem of impunity of 2022-2023, which ignores the facts of targeted killings of Russian journalists by the Kiev regime. Our journalists were killed. The wave of outrage that swept through the Russian media, especially those whose colleagues were killed by Ukrainian Nazis, manifested itself in a number of appeals to the Director General of UNESCO. In fact, this is an unprecedented case. It is the first time this is happening in the practice of considering such reports. On the 22nd of November, there was an unprecedentedly heated discussion. It didn't allow the 34th session of the Intergovernmental Council of the International Program for the Development of Communication to take a decision on the above-mentioned document within the allotted time. This did not happen before. The Russian side categorically rejected the report and challenged the so-called methodology of its preparations. But we were not the only ones. Additionally, we were supported by a large number of countries and delegations. We were supported by countries that experienced similar manifestations of arbitrariness on the part of a UNESCO Secretariat. I have mentioned this. We were supported not only because we were right and because this report was totally unjustified and ungrounded in describing situation with regard to Russia falling short of the truth. We were supported primarily because similar situations happened in other countries too. We always say that support for the truth, in the struggle for the truth, in activities seeking to gain greater justice, should be pursued whenever there is an attempt on this truth, because later you are going to face that same misfortune. So you had better act in a proactive manner. So many countries, as we saw it, now had an opportunity to voice all their concerns and complaints they have had, or rather had, because their journalists were not included on the mentioned report too. They need to rework it, to revise the report, take into account the official information from member states. Has been also announced. The discussion on this topic will continue during the resumed 34th session on the 13th of December in Paris. We will bring to the attention of UNESCO's leadership all the letters and petitions and appeals we receive. Due to their large number, we recommend to all media outlets to contact the Union of Journalists of Russia, which has offered to join its appeal to Audrey Azoulay in the format of an open letter. They did so because there are multiple appeals. In order not to move boxes of such appeals, we decided to use a modern, technological advanced format. Instead, we want to use links to the appeal published by the Union of Journalists of Russia as an open letter where journalists and media agencies can sign off on or put their signatures under. All appeals are welcome. I mean, all appeals from media. We will convey everything: letters, emails, phone calls. We will convey all these details, but for the sake of convenience, in order to duplicate, in order to intensify your voice, in order to make sure you are being heard, you can now put your signature to this open letter, which is in online too. We will surely give the link to the text version of briefing on the MFA account, the appeal of the Union of Journalists of Russia. Please note that the letter is open for subscription, for signature to all Russian and foreign publications, to all Russian and foreign associations of journalists. We're going to the next round of the meeting, realizing that in its current form, in its current wording, the above document cannot be adopted. It is totally unacceptable. It is a fake document, as we put it. It does not in the slightest degree reflect the real picture in safety, as far as safety of journalists is concerned, but at the same time it contains a blatant abuse of statistics and becomes in fact a source of misinformation, which UNESCO, according to its mandate, is to fight against. This destructive, extremely biased policy of UNESCO's leadership undermines the credibility of this UN agency and seriously damages its authority, while Audrey Azoulay herself is actually an accomplice in the information aggression unleashed against Russia in the war against the truth, as was mentioned by Minister Lavrov when he met ambassadors of the global majority accredited to Moscow. We do not intend to accept this state of affairs at the resumed session of the Intergovernmental Commission, of the Intergovernmental Council. We will once again raise the issue of the non-transparent criteria and pseudo-methodology underlying the preparation of such reports and the unacceptability of using data obtained from pseudo-independent NGOs working with Western grants, the ignoring of official statistics submitted to UNESCO. All this should be done to prevent such odious documents from appearing in the future. This must be done in order for journalists who are ready to sacrifice their lives for the profession, for the truth, for the sake of their audience, in order for them not to be ignored in the future, in order to make it attractive for bureaucrats who are sitting in entities that have been created for totally different purposes, for upholding the truth. In fact, in order for them not to be attracted by the idea of ignoring those who fall in the line of duty, media professionals who fall in the line of duty as heroes. They deliberately took the risk. They were aware they could die, they could sustain horrific injuries, but nevertheless they did so in order to take a picture, make a video, to make a commentary from the actual situation, from the actual place of events, from the site of events, in order for the world to find the actual solution to this post-truth world, in order to have a trustworthy source of information. We should all join hands here. We should resist this totally false, insane approach regarding ignoring journalists who are at the media front line. We have said on multiple occasions, this is our principled stance. We are going to continue with it. And the main part, we have heard so much from states, from various state officials, from public activists, that the work of a journalist is a priority, that journalism and journalists are to be protected. International conferences were dedicated to that subject, held in state-to-state formats. There were sessions, including the UN Security Council, and the resolutions were created in relevant committees and bodies of the United Nations and other entities in the OSCE, Council of Europe, for one. They made it their priority in their activities, and now everyone is keeping silence unanimously. Previously, they were champions of the freedom of speech, champions of journalism, calling it their life existential priority. We're not going to keep silence like them. By the way, on the 4th of December, Moscow is to start an international photo initiative. We accuse joint initiative of the Ministry of Foreign Affairs of the Russian Federation, the magazine New Regions of Russia, and the Presidential Library. The flagship photo exhibition will open in the lobby of the central building of the MFA. It will later be provided in Belgorod, Rostov-on-Don, Kursk, Luhansk, Melitopol, Berdyansk, Mariupol, and elsewhere. It will also be available online. This exhibition will be dedicated to the atrocity of the Kiev regime. The exhibition is called We Accuse. It will be available online. We'll be sure to publish a link to the exhibition in the text version. The author is the editor-in-chief of the New Regions of Russia magazine, a member of the Russian Union of Journalists, Sergei Vinyavsky. 18 black and white photos taken in the period from May 2022 to September 2024 in the zone of the special military operation in the border regions of Russia. The regions that we call the new regions, border regions. The purpose of this initiative is clear. These are photo facts, photo evidence. It's not just about art, it's also about documentary. Another important date, on the 6th of December, we celebrated the date of commemoration of Grand Prince Alexander Nevsky. His name is closely connected with the history of the MFA. Empress Catherine I established the order in honor of Alexander Nevsky. It became one of the highest and most honorable Russian awards. Those awarded included Alexander Romanovich Vorontsov, the first Minister of Foreign Affairs of Russia, Mikhail Gorchakov, in 1828 at the building of the Ministry of Foreign Affairs on Palace.
В Санкт-Петербурге была основана домовая церковь святого благоверного князя Александра. Она была построена по проекту архитектора Карла Ивановича.
By architect Karl Ivanovich Rossi. For the employees of the ministry, it hosted all rites, baptisms, weddings, funerals, and also oath-taking ceremonies when entering the service. During the celebration of the 100th anniversary of the MFA in 1902, a solemn prayer service was held in the house church of St. Alexander Nevsky. Many Orthodox churches at Russian diplomatic missions abroad were also consecrated in the name of the Holy Prince Alexander Nevsky. One of the most significant personalities of Russian history, had an exceptional view of a statesman combined with his deep faith. In the most difficult, dramatic stage of our country's life, he managed to defend and preserve the national consciousness of the people. He made an essential civilizational choice, as we put it, that predetermined the shape of Russia for centuries to come. He combined resolute opposition to the aggressive Western ideological and military expansion with subtle and wise diplomacy, thus laying the foundation of modern foreign policy to mark the 220th anniversary of the Ministry of Foreign Affairs. On September 12, 2022, the bust of Alexander Nevsky was unveiled in our building. Russia's Foreign Minister Sergei Lavrov took part in the ceremony. He made his remarks and we'll be sure to add the link in the text version. On the 8th of December, we are going to celebrate the 25th anniversary of creating the Union State. This document strengthened the ties of our fraternal nations, building the principles of neighborliness, mutual respect, consideration of each other's interests, and love, if I may add, in my personal capacity. We have made significant progress in building the common socio-economic, cultural, humanitarian, defense, migration, and information space of the United States. Financial, economic, technological sovereignty has significantly strengthened too. The virtual equal rights and opportunities of our citizens on the territory of the two countries in the migration, labor, and social spheres, healthcare, and education are to be considered as fait accompli. Unity and mutual assistance allow us to successfully overcome unprecedented pressure from the collective West. Today, we can rightfully call our allied relations with Minsk a benchmark of mutually beneficial integration cooperation in the Eurasian space. While helping to achieve national development goals, the Union State is simultaneously becoming one of the pillars of the emerging Greater Eurasian Partnership and a new continental architecture of interaction in security, economic, and humanitarian dimensions. In the recent years, we managed to achieve a qualitative acceleration of the union building process in many areas thanks to the successful implementation of 2021-2023, 28 union programs. We have laid a strong foundation for unified socioeconomic space from Brest to Vladivostok. The supranational tax committee and the interstate customs center have been established. The concept of migration policy of the Union State and the updated military document have been adopted at the meeting of the Supreme State Council held in St. Petersburg on the 29th of January this year. New benchmarks for 2024-2026 were defined along with a block of economic tasks. They included the goals of creating a common information space, cultural, humanitarian, scientific, technical, and social issues. During the progressive expansion of the common cultural and humanitarian space of the Union State, we pay special attention to joint preservation of historical memory and patriotic education of youths. We implement the strategies of scientific and technological development aimed at integrating the spheres of science, technology, and innovation.
We attach great importance to ensuring information security in the Union State. In March 2023, we adopted the relevant concept. In November, the corresponding media company of the Union State was established in order to unify all the media agencies of the two states and bring their work at to a new quality level. In accordance with the bilateral programs agreed upon in the field of foreign policy from 2024 to 2026, Russian and Belarusian diplomats closely coordinate their approaches and provide mutual support in multilateral platforms and advocate from common or similar positions practically in all the issues in the UN, OSCE, and other organizations. An important goal of the MFA of the two countries is to ensure diplomatic follow-up for integration processes as part of the Union State. We attach great importance to improving the authority of the Union State on the international arena, including as part of joint statements and reports under its auspices. I would like to recall that joint sessions of MFA colleges of Russia and Belarus elaborate common approaches in various fields, and we held a similar session on the 22nd of November in Brest. In correlation with the upcoming anniversary on the 6th of December, in Minsk, a session of the Supreme State Council of the Union State is scheduled with the participation of the presidents of the countries. Heads of governments and presidents of the chambers of the parliaments are also members of the Supreme organism. At the session, an important package of decisions will be approved in order to strengthen the economic and technological potential of the Union State, ensure Russia's and Belarus's security as part of the common defense space, and a number of high-level events will also be held in the cultural and scientific field. On the 9th of December in Moscow, in the House of Receptions of the Russian MFA, a thematic photo-documentary exposition with the participation of the Russian Foreign Minister Sergei Lavrov will be held. Heads of executive organisms of the Union State, EAU, OSCE, and CIS also will be held, as well as representatives of the diplomatic corpus and the media. On the 9th of December, in Russian Federation, we celebrate the Day of National Heroes. On this important day, all over the country, heroes of the Soviet Union, heroes of the Russian Federation, recipients of the Order of St. George and the Order of Glory recipients are feted. This holiday has its roots in the 18th century and is related to George the Victorious. On this day, on the 9th of December 1769, Empress Catherine II decreed this order to be established as a highest military decoration, Imperial Military Order of Saint Martyr and Victorious George, with 4 classes. It was awarded for special bravery in combat. It was stated that noble birth, other merits, wounds received in combat was not considered when awarding the Order of St. George for combat feats. Only those would be awarded the order who have not only fulfilled their duty according to their oath, honor, but those who have benefited the glory of the Russian weapons. The first recipients of the order of the first class were Catherine I and General Rumyantsev Donetsky. Overall, 25 persons received this award. General Kutuzov, Barclay de Tolly, Ivan Dibich Zabalkansky, General Diplomat Ivan Paskevich-Rivansky. Recipients of various classes of this order included 10,000 people in 1807. Following the example of this order, a decoration for lower-ranking officers was established, the Georgian Cross. After the 1917 revolution, the holiday was cancelled and the order was substituted with new decorations. On the 16th of April 1934, the Central Executive Committee of the USSR established the title of Hero of the Soviet Union for collective and personal achievements for the sake of the state. In the Ministry of Foreign Affairs of the USSR, there were 8 diplomats who received the title of Heroes of Soviet Union: Azarov, Bolotov, Alexei Yepeshev, Viktor Kazakov, Sergei Romanovts, Fyodor Setchikov, Yakov Sushko, and Ivan Fedorov. There was also one recipient of the Order of Glory of 3 classes, Nikolai Buluchov. The title Hero of the Russian Federation took up the mantle of the title Hero of the Soviet Union in December 2016. The title of Hero of Russia posthumously was awarded to Andrei Karlov, who died as a result of a terrorist attack. It was awarded for resilience and bravery as extraordinary and plenipotentiary ambassador of Russia in the Turkish Republic and great contribution to implementing Russia's external policy. The 9th of December has been established as a remembrance date by a federal decree on the 28th of February 2007 entitled about introducing changes to the Article 1.1 of the federal law about the days of military glory and commemorative dates of Russia. On the occasion of the Day of National Heroes, on behalf of Russian President, annually on the 9th of December, in the Hall of St. George in Kremlin for Heroes of the Soviet Union and the Russian Federation, recipients of the Orders of Glory and St. George, reception is held. A historical details will be also published in the written version of the briefing. Another important event will be held on the 11th of December. The 9th International Cadet Ball, Kremlin Charity Cadet Ball, will be held to support the special military operation. This annual event has an important role in preserving and multiplying the best Russian traditions of the armed forces, ensuring continuity between generations, patriotic, spiritual, and moral upbringing of the youth. The ball is meant to revitalize and popularize the cultural and historic heritage of our homeland, contribute to uniting future defenders of our motherland. The children of the participants of the special military operation, wards of cadet establishments, Suvorov and Nakhimov schools with cadet classes, members of different military patriotic youth clubs, children from social orphanages, and other subjects of Russian Federation will take part in the event, and we, as the Ministry of Foreign Affairs of Russia, support this event and will also publish the relevant links in the text version of the briefing. On the 11th of December, we celebrate an important day when 80 years ago, diplomatic relations between the USSR and the Republic of Chile were established. Do we have to even recall that we have great traditions of friendship and partnership? I will be brief because I believe this is something that everyone knows. We are tied by historic relations. They have been tested by time. We have examples of true human solidarity in difficult periods when the epochs were shifting. We know about the outstanding Chile's fighter for the independence of Spanish colonies, revolutionary Bernardo O'Higgins. We honor the memory of the outstanding patriot of Chile, President Salvador Allende. We admire the work of the world-famous poet and diplomat, Nobel Prize winner Pablo Neruda, the bravery and valor of singer Victor Jara. Today we see Chile as an important partner in the Latin American region. As per tradition, we value the good practices in the political dialogue, in economical relations that we have accumulated over the years. We believe that this potential should be strengthened and multiplied. Our countries successfully cooperate as part of the ATAS Forum APEC forum and as also in the matters of the Antarctic region. And we hope that Chile's respectable voice of diplomacy will continue to sound loud in international affairs in the UN for the sake of international stability and for a just world order. We will continue to contribute to developing our bilateral relations based on mutual respect, equality and pragmatism. Right now we were talking about the long-term perspective, because in June 2025, the International Children's Center Artek will celebrate its 100th anniversary. Right now, I would like to recall it is the biggest children's center in the world. I believe it has nothing on par with him in the world. There is a lot of factological data. The preparation for the celebration of the 100th anniversary has been underway from November 2022 in accordance with the presidential decree. In the year of the anniversary, every session is reminded about the need to protect childhood and the need to protect the future of future generations and create the necessary conditions for development. Following the goals of nurturing the sense of ownership in terms of historic and cultural identity of the Russian people and the fate of our country, in the shifts of 2025, different events will be held. 80th anniversary of the Great Victory, the 100th anniversary of our tag project, Our Heroes, the movement of the first. Such values as patriotism and respect to the elderly is imbued in the children who participate in the program. Today, Artek actively participates in national projects in the field of education, cultural, digital economy, in developing human potential of the youth, introduces new education programs, and promotes its unique experience. It has always been an important component. Russian Artek continues to be a center of children's diplomacy. From 2014 to 2023, Artek hosted over 10,000 children from 105 countries of the world. Country leaders are Kyrgyzia, Kazakhstan, France, Belarus, Uzbekistan, Moldova, Syria, Armenia, Estonia, Germany, Spain, Italy, China, Bulgaria. An important role in increasing the number of foreign children who visit Artek has the International Campaign Fellowship and the development of international cooperation programs. Artek has repeatedly been recognized as the best campaign center in the Russian Federation. Artek is open all year round. Every session in Artek, 3,200 children are hosted in the center, and in winter 2,000 children. From the beginning of its work, it has hosted